Do you remember why you started riding? I bet it wasn't because you wanted more stress in your life. I bet it wasn't even because you wanted to perfect the technique of riding, of keeping the horse between you and the ground. You fell in love with horses because of the feeling you got when you were around them. But somewhere along the way, you were taught to focus on pressure, aids, and getting things done. And that feeling disappears. It's time to get it back. This week, I'm sharing a workshop with one small shift that can completely change the conversation with your horse and get you back to the feeling of being with horses. It has to do with your energy, your timing, and something most riders forget at the most important moment. Showing your horse that you're happy with them. And when you change that one thing, your horse will start offering more than you ever had to ask for. Welcome, friends and fellow horse fiends. I'm Anna Fox of Equus Enlightened, and this is the Thinking Horse and Rider, the podcast dedicated to training you to become the best possible partner for your horse. Here, we explore the science and soul of horsemanship. We dive into equine behavior, the psychology of partnership, and compassionate training methods that help you become a thinking rider who creates a thinking horse. Because when you understand how your horse's mind works and show up with empathy and presence, everything gets easier and a whole lot more fun. My goal is to keep riding easy and fun for everyone, while helping you deepen your connection, find more flow, and maybe even create your own unicorn along the way. Whether you're working on dressage movements or just trying to understand why your horse did that thing they did, we'll explore the research, the real talk, and the small shifts that make a big difference in and out of the saddle. So grab your boots, take a deep breath. What are you waiting for? Come ride with me. This is our chat on awareness, what I think is one of the biggest missing pieces in most horse-human partnerships. We're going to talk about the energy you bring, your timing, and also the joy you feel at the release and reward stage. And for most people, it is a different way to think about it because a lot of us are taught pressure and release or escalating pressure, but not necessarily how to feel when we ask the question and then how to feel when we give the reward. And horses are acutely aware all of the time, right? They're aware of everything all the time. So for us, we need to know that awareness is always going to come before your technique. And most of us are taught this backwards. We're taught all the techniques and the things and whatever. And then we get to a point in our journey and it's like, oh crap, I missed a part. And it's not our fault because nobody ever taught us. Then we have to go back and find it. But horses are always going to experience you and your energy before they experience anything you ask of them. And that's why a lot of people have trouble catching horses or, their horses do weird things because they're experiencing whatever energy we're bringing. So your posture, your breath, the emotional tone, all of that shape your conversation the minute you get to the barn. Whether you had to walk there from your house or you had to drive there from work, either way, it shapes your conversation before you start giving any aids or cues. The most common energy states that I see with people, and nothing is wrong with any of these, and we all might have them from one day to the next, but the rushed and driven, very common, and they often go together, I've noticed. It's very unlikely to have somebody who's rushing who is careful or a little bit hesitant. If you're a rushed person, and I can speak from experience here, you are driven to get things done. That's probably your mentality. I need to get this done. Hesitant and careful is great, but then sometimes the horses feel that and they're like, uh-oh, why are we being hesitant and careful? Is there something I should be worried about? So then their little survival instincts kicked. Also, your rushed and your driven energy can cause that too. Do we need to run away from the lion? So either way, you're going to bring in something that might cause their physiological state to shift. And then the calm but disconnected person who's like, yeah, I'm real type B personality. I don't find that many equestrians fit that role, but they are out there. Um, and for those people, the horses are usually so calm as well, but they're just usually not doing the things that you want them to do because they're not feeling that connection. They're not feeling your intention and your energy, but they're just, like, oh, it's nice you're calm. So if any of those speak to you, just think about how you're bringing your energy to your horse because each one creates a really different conversation. And none of them are bad, and we can work with all of them. But the first thing I would want you to say is, are you asking a question? Are you asking a question or are you demanding something from your horse? As Joanne said earlier, are you saying, I just do this thing? Or is it a question and answer sort of conversation? I think that the question and answer conversation gets you further, faster, and it also creates a better relationship. There's a difference in your posture, your breath, your intention, and your emotional tone with each. You can play with this. Play with it with your spouses or your kids. Like, demand that they do something. And my kids are really aware. It's probably my own fault. But if I say, can you take the trash out? Or will you take the trash out? They will answer me for real. And it's annoying. Okay. They'll say, well, I can. Or no, I will not. And I'm like, that's not really what I meant. What I meant was, I need you to take the trash out. So sometimes we want to ask and we want to be nice with our horses, but sometimes we also need them to do something. And in that moment, you want to have the little bit of, I'm asking you this, but it's sort of a demand. I need it for your safety or my safety or whatever. So you do need to have the nuance in the conversation. If you're aware of your normal posture, breath, intention, and emotional tone, you can switch it very quickly to say, hey, I need this. Or if you ask the question and you don't get the answer that you needed, for instance, if it's a safety issue and you say, I need you to get out of my space, like your horse is losing its mind and you need him to be at the end of the rope, and they're not there, then you change your posture and you say, get out of the way. And they're like, oh, yeah, right. I got to get back here. Then I can lose my mind. And then you can go back to being neutral and even happy. And hey, yay, thank you for getting out of my way. That's exactly what I needed you to do in that moment. But a lot of times, what we do is we hold that posture, breath, intention, emotional tone way past the ask. And that is where we lose our horses and we get disconnected because they don't do that. If you notice horses in a pasture herd situation, if they need to talk to another horse out loud where we can see it, they make it happen and then it's over. right? They do not follow that horse around the field and say, "Do you remember 5 minutes ago you did that thing to me?" Or "You didn't get out of my way 5 minutes ago, so I'm still gonna, posture." They said, "Get out of my way," and then the horse got out of the way. We're all friends again, right? We'd go back to eating at the same hay pile, whatever. So when you're thinking about being aware of the energy you're bringing, also be aware of the energy you're leaving after you ask a question or you have to make a demand. Find your neutral. And this is something that everybody has to play with. I can't tell you what your neutral feels like, but you want to play with it and then practice, practice on the spouse, the kids, whatever. And you can tell them you're practicing on them. You don't have to catch them off guard. You can even practice this on people you don't even know without them knowing. Sort of Jedi mind trick them and say, "Can you get out of my—" I do this driving. "Can you get out of my way? Can you get out of my way? Can you get out of my way?" And then when they do, can you leave that energy? And it sounds silly, but this is a practice. Learning how to control your energy and use it to your benefit is a practice. It's a science. It's not just something that some of us are gifted with and some of us are not. Because I can tell you that I was not gifted with the energy around horses that many of you see me have today. I had to grow into that. So, um, it's it is a practice. And so practicing it in your everyday life really helps because you're like, "Oh, wow, I can change my emotional tone in a second." Now, this doesn't mean that you can like lose your mind on somebody and then expect them to forgive you. That's not what I'm saying. Same thing with your horse. It's just a practice of, can I up the emotional ante, make a little demand, or ask a tough question, and then bring myself back to neutral and not leave anything on the table. It's a hard thing to do. So this little video, I'm going to show you part of it now. And I just want you to watch it. What do you think my energy is saying here? And then do you notice when the horse gets curious about what I want? And right off the bat, do you notice what I don't do? Because some things are going to happen that you might handle differently. All right, so did anybody notice when he first got curious?
It seems like he got curious when you stepped back.
Okay.
Like you showed it and then you stepped back and he was like, "Oh, what?"
Yeah, definitely. Did you notice in the very beginning what I didn't do? What would you normally do right here? If you wanted to put the fly mask on that horse, what would you normally do?
Keep going forward.
Yeah.
Right. And probably try to grab a hold of him, right? Jerry, and you're absolutely right. But also, right here, when I don't do anything, I'm like, "Hey, man, I just want to put your fly mask on you." Then he's like, "Oh, okay." And now he's curious now. He's like, "Oh." And then here for him, yeah, he's curious. Now he's asking me questions because
Yeah.
he does a Spanish walk. And so he's like, "Oh, do you want me to do something cool? Do you want me to show you my tricks?" "No, I just really want to show you the fly mask." But most of us, our instinct is when that horse goes away, we're like, that's where their claustrophobia is like, "But what?" You know? So by bringing in the energy of, I don't care if you wear this fly mask or not, It's only going to help you. I'm not attaching any emotion to it, which is a big part of how we frame the energy that we use around the horses. If I go in there with, I'm putting this fly mask on you, that's a very different conversation than asking him, does he want to wear the fly mask? If I say, I'm going to put this fly mask on you, then when he steps away from me, I'm going to grab him and I'm going to put the fly mask on his head. And then he's probably not going to let me do that in the future. I'm going to have to get the halter. So that makes it just a very different conversation. When I say, I know you're going to be a happier horse because you have a big white face and the flies get in it. You're going to be way happier with your fly mask on, but if you don't want to wear it, why does it matter to me? You know? Like, um, that changes the way I think about it. And I think it's Tony Robbins says a lot, words become your reality. And that's true, but also the thoughts in your head when you're with your horse are your reality because you're not a lot of times voicing them out loud, but they're still the words in your head. And so they are your reality. If I'm like, oh my God, dude, I just need to put the fly mask on, like, come on, then he's like, oh, well, I don't like that energy and I'm gonna shrink away from you. And then I'm like, oh God, now I have to go get the halter. I have to do all these other things when just by saying, hey man, do you want this or not? And then he's like, oh, well, yeah, could we play some games too? Because then I get treats. And, then it's a whole different conversation. And that is a lot of times, I think, what we lose when we're rushed and driven, right? We lose that little bit of playful energy. People tend to think that play means going out and kicking the soccer ball or jumping around for joy. Play to me is more of a mindset, right? It's like I'm playing a game by asking questions, sort of an advanced level game, right? And so if I stay calm and gentle and mindful about the questions I'm asking, then the horse is like, okay, I can keep taking questions, but if I'm suddenly a predator, my energy is bad, or I'm afraid or frustrated, then they're like, oh, I have to get away from you. Or if my energy is like aloof and I'm worried about the other 10 million things I have to do, then they're also like, well, what are we doing here? So we'd have to be intentional, but yet not so focused and driven that we're feeling more negative energy than we are positive. Does that make sense? Uh, the release then is the next part. A lot of people can get the pressure right that they need to ask a question. I find the more hesitant, careful people tend to need to learn more about utilizing pressure. Us driven people do not need that. We usually have that down pat. What we need to learn is how to release, when to release, and how to be freaking happy when we do it. Because horses really learn in that release of pressure. They don't learn when you're applying pressure. When you're applying pressure, their nervous system is saying, I have to do something to make it stop. So if we release earlier, it's clear information, and oftentimes earlier than we think we need to. Using the theory of reward the try, what's hard for a lot of people is that they're not sure when the horse tries. So in the video, for instance, as soon as he steps back from me and I go into retreat mode, that was a release from me to say, oh, I'm not going to push it. I'm just here to ask a question. If I had gone forward in that moment, it would have been, oh, you're here to put the fly mask on, and maybe I don't want that. So with me saying, hey, I'm just asking a question right off the bat, that gave him clear information. If I had gone forward and hadn't released there, he would have been like, oh, what's happening? And then we have that little niggling thing in our brain that's like, well, I'm not sure if they tried, so just in case they weren't really trying, I'm gonna go one step further. And then that muddies the water too, because the horse is like, well, I think I did the thing, but then you still asked me to keep going, so I maybe that wasn't the thing and I need to try something else. Maybe in that video, I released too much and backed away from him, and he's like, oh, well, maybe it's not the fly mask game. Maybe it's something else. Or maybe he just wanted to show me he could do other things to get treats. I don't know, but I'm just going to take that as information. So next time, maybe I don't go back as far. Maybe I sort of shift my weight back instead of actually stepping back in that retreat phase. That is a really difficult and nuanced place to start talking to your horse when you want to start. I like the word titrating. Titrating your asks and your release. You can play with it and you can figure out pretty quickly if you're aware and you're watching your horse when they go, hey, ears up, curious, are you asking me something? Or when they're like, ugh, I don't know. Or they start gnashing their teeth when you're riding, or, the ears come back, or they start twitching, or the tail starts going. You know, in those cases, releasing the pressure and then going again is better than maintaining pressure and trying to figure out what's wrong. Because while you're maintaining that pressure, their nervous system and their minds are like, what's the thing? I don't know what the thing is. Ah. But if you just say, ah, I don't know what the thing is either. Okay, but let's try this again. Then they're like, okay, all right, we're trying again. That's cool. I can do that. And that's what makes your clarity live in the timing of the release, is that keeps the horse engaged in the conversation. If you're too late with it, they're going to wonder. It's really hard to be too early. Now, like I said in that video, maybe I was either too early or maybe too much with my release. I would say too much with the second release and stepping back rather than too early. Don't be afraid to release and then ask again right away. If you feel confident that was the right thing, I think we could do it again, then ask again. But if you're like, I don't know what's happening here, that's when you want to really practice that pause and go, okay, what can I make more clear? What question can I ask better? Now, we've already talked about this a little bit, but we're going to watch the little clip again because I wanted you to hopefully also notice my face. And I took the sound out of this because it was a little bit background noisy, but did you notice how many releases? Was there just the one? Were there some micro releases in there? And what else didn't I do? Even when he wasn't sure about the the thing, he's like, well, I don't know. And then he's like, oh, this is a series of mini releases. That's my backup, my retreat. And then you can't see it, but I'm like smiling, like, come on, buddy. Then I release again. So it's a little series of, I think you're going to let me do this, but I still want to be sure. So I'm going to keep asking the question. And then when you approach me, when you're like, yeah, I'm curious about this, then I'm extra happy. And I'm laughing and probably talking to him at the same time. What I didn't do was when he put his head down the first time and came into me, I could have just like chucked it over his head, right? But then he would have been like, ah, what? So I waited until he really put his head down and put his nose out and was like, okay, now is the time, rather than rushing the situation. And of course, I laughed. I was happy. I was not in a hurry. So the energy that I brought was I'm asking if you want to do this or not. Doesn't matter if you do, and it doesn't matter how long it takes if I need to ask you the question. And then when he gave me the opportunity, I'm like, yes, yay, thank you, laughed, pets, whatever, scratches, because a release without joy can feel incomplete to a horse because they don't know if we are happy or not. And that's really what they want, a happy, emotional feeling around them. So when we can show them, yes, we're happy by softening, exhaling, being easy in our body, and showing that emotional contrast between I'm asking, I'm demanding, and yes, thank you so much for offering that. I'll tell you a story when I was one time at a Karen Rolfe clinic and we were doing an exercise online and you get the horse to give you 100% effort on your intention, right? So you like stand up, send them with your finger, and they should blast off, right? The same horse in this video, Gus. Gus doesn't blast off for much of anything, okay? And so I thought, oh gosh, I don't know how this is going to go. But as it turned out, I could get him to go. I could get the blast off. But then what I couldn't get was him to come back. He was just ripping around the circle and like, ah! And I'm like, oh my God, like, this is not my horse. I don't know who this. We tried a couple different things and it just was not working for me. And so she comes to me and she says, part of it is your energy, your intention is still in that learned lunging experience, right? Like, I'm ready and we're doing this thing and this is the way it is. And so once he would go, I thought I was relaxing and I thought I was releasing, but I'm not. I'm just there. And so he's like, "What? I don't know what to do now." She takes the rope, sends him out, and he goes. And then she turns around and talks to me. And he stops dead and turns and looks at her and starts walking in, like, oh, okay. Like, that was it, right? That is an art that you have to practice. It is not something that is innate to most of us. Um, so just so you're aware, practice makes perfect, and practicing it all over the place, it's very helpful. Now, this is a longer version, the whole video. And the black horse, she hated the fly mask. Oh my God. So she was not going to be involved in any conversation about wearing a fly mask at all. Although I did eventually get her to the point where she would. The practice for all of you now is when you enter your horse's space, reset, notice how you're asking for things, and then be clear with your rewards. So When you enter the space, you're going to pause, notice your energy before you do anything else. Take a couple breaths if you need to. Make your exhales longer than your inhales if you're rushed. Imagine the positive outcome that you want for the day. Doesn't even have to be for one task. It can be for the whole day. I just want to leave here happy, healthy, and with my horse going back to his buddies saying, my human's kind of cool. And then ask, right? Ask the question. Don't demand. Ask. Can you? And then release and smile at the first sign of a try. And this was the ending to my story of Karen Rolfe. Then she told me that what I had to do was make a huge big fuss over my horse and sort of cheerlead, yay. This is totally against my personality. For those of you that know me, it would be like me going to an interpretive dance class. I was mortified. And this was in a clinic with other people. This was not a private lesson. Okay. So I had to go in this arena and be like, yes, oh my God, Gus, you're the most amazing pony in the barn. It worked. I felt ridiculous, but it absolutely worked. And so after that, for many years, I overdid it. And then I learned that, okay, I can smile and I can show my joy that way without having to be so over the top about it. So the one thing that my dad would always say to me, even when he knew nothing about horses, when I was 8 years old and showing and used to drive me absolutely insane, smile, actually finally made sense to me. So now, when I'm in the show ring and things go wrong, I can smile because it's just a question. Obviously, it couldn't happen in that moment. It's whatever, right? But it took me, I don't know, at least 20 years to figure that out. Um, so release and smile at the first sign of your horse's try. Even if you weren't sure if it was a try, it's okay. You can try again and find out. And then pause, exhale, allow the happiness, and then you can ask again. But don't get so caught up in your asks that you forget to allow your horse and you forget to show them the joy, because I know that all of us got into horses because we love them and we wanted to have fun. We didn't get into horses to be stressed out and be frustrated and be riding around uncertain and not having any fun. That wasn't what we signed up for. Before we wrap up, here's what I want you to remember. Most horses aren't reacting to your aids first. They're reacting to you, your posture, your breath, your emotional tone. And sometimes one small shift in those things can completely change the conversation. What you heard today was just a short clip from the awareness workshop. And some of the biggest light bulb moments happened in the Q&A afterward. There's also a video that you can't see in the podcast version. And there's one small thing in that video about awareness that may change the way you think about interacting with your horse. So if you'd like to watch the full workshop, you can find it inside my community, the Happy Horse and Rider Lab on School. I'll put that link in the show notes for you. And this week, when you walk into your horse's space, try one simple experiment. Pause, notice your energy, ask your question, feel the answer, and then soften and smile. Even if you don't like the answer, it's okay. You can ask the question again. And then you might be surprised what your horse offers next. All right, horse fiends, thanks for hanging out with us today. If this episode got your gears turning, don't forget to check out Reconnect, Rebuild, and Ride with Heart. The links are in the show notes. It's the program that'll take everything we talked about here and actually help you apply it in real life with your horse. And hey, before you ride off, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a quick rating or review of the show. It helps more riders like you find us and keep these conversations going. All the links you need are waiting in the show notes. Happy riding!